there was a time when the BJP completely caricatured Rahul Gandhi, dismissed him as a pappu, would have wanted a Modi versus Rahul sort of battle, because it's a battle in which Modi could only come out tops. And the surveys still reflect a major, major gap in the popularity of the two as individuals. But there's been some repairing. I use the word carefully. I don't want to say reinvention, reassertion, just repairing. There's been a certain repairing, a certain concession that Mr. Gandhi has earned his spurs in politics. You know, he's walked the length and breadth of India. He's now a politician that you would take seriously, just as you would take any other opposition politician. Do you think the BJP would concede that today? Do you think the BJP looks at Rahul Gandhi differently today?
Well, I've always treated Rahul Gandhi as a representative of the Indian National Congress. The Indian National Congress is still a very formidable brand in Indian politics. Till fairly recently, it was the default party of India. So anybody with carrying that brand name Gandhi still has a natural appeal. And it's for that person to actually destroy that appeal by scoring self-goals, which is what happened in a number of cases, which is what happened in 2014. When after a completely disastrous interview, his image got shattered, and then not taking care of constituencies and things. Rahul is a formidable player. He's a strong player. I believe that he's the top as far as the opposition lineup is concerned. The others, Nitish Kumar may want something, Mamta Banerjee may want something, Stalin may want something, but at the end of the day, it's the Congress.
Is that the first time you've called him a formidable player?
No. I mean, look, I don't underestimate any politician. If there is one lesson which I learned personally, was that in 2004, there was a lot of people in the BJP who said at that time that, I'm so glad Sonia Gandhi must always be propped up, because with Sonia Gandhi, we can't lose. You lost. Despite Sonia Gandhi being there. Sonia Gandhi may not have contributed to your did you defeat directly, but Sonia, they didn't help bolster you up. Sonia's presence didn't bolster you up. So everybody, and subsequently she was crowned sort of Mother India by everyone, etc. Now, so if that lesson is to be learned, it is that do not underestimate your opponent in any way. So Rahul Gandhi, I treat him as a significant player. He's not my cup of tea. His type of politics, that doesn't appeal to me. But yes, there are people, and the chattering classes of India who very well have been craving and yearning for a return to the Anshian regime. They have latched on to Rahul Gandhi as the symbol, as someone who can deliver them from this great evil called Narendra Modi.
I was only smiling at the reference to the chattering classes, because Vanity Fair, has a section called the old establishment and the new establishment, and I just think there's now a new chattering class and a new elite and a new car market gang, so to speak. But listen, more seriously, here's a question. Do you think Modi has acquired a certain amount of Teflon sheen to him? And here I'm not making an ideological sort of point, but let's take up two things that have been bad headlines for the BJP. What's happening in Manipur and what's happening with the wrestlers. These are two very unconnected things, and I'm not trying to simplify them, but I'm saying Manipur, okay, it's a very complex thing. The Home Minister is there. It needs to be discussed separately. But when we saw the images of what happened with the wrestlers, irrespective of where you are politically, you see India sporting champions dragged by the police. You now see them talking about throwing their medals into the Ganga. And you wonder, why would Prime Minister Modi, whose slogan is Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, who met with these athletes personally, Yogi Adityanath himself is no fan of the MP who's being accused of sexual harassment, Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. Why would the BJP invest political capital in protecting one member of parliament rather than reacting to a people's movement such as the wrestlers' protest, even if it's been validated by some members of the political opposition?
No, I tend to agree that these are bad optics. This is bad optics, more than anything, although it's not so national. I mean, let me tell you, sitting in Kolkata at present, the wrestlers' protest seems very much something which is happening specifically to Delhi. So, but Manipur is a far more serious issue. Manipur is a place like in the Northeast. The Northeast has been seen as a great triumph of the BJP in every respect. Infrastructure, this, that, and the other, political outreach, and suddenly out from nowhere comes a court verdict, and boom, the whole thing goes up in flames, and those old wounds once again start
Mm.
resurfacing. Now, this is, to my mind, the most serious issue. And I'm so glad that Amit Shah has actually gone there, and he's probably going to camp for 3 days there to actually try and bring everyone possible to the table and get some sort of solution there. It requires the total single-minded application of the Home Minister for a state, however small. Manipur only brings in two MPs to the Lok Sabha, but that's not the issue. Point is, once again, it's the Northeast. You solve Manipur, you put it, you resolve this question once and for all, and once again, that whole image of all of India pulling in the same direction will re-emerge. Otherwise, small issues like Manipur, something else happens somewhere else. All these can be major irritants, which can sour the India story as it is today. And
Mm.
as far as the wrestlers are concerned, I agree. These are bad optics. It's very bad optics. And maybe, you know, people who are in charge of handling the optics should take note.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, because literally all it would take is a comment from the Prime Minister, a statement from the Prime Minister, I think, for the wrestlers to have pulled back. So I really wonder what is, what is leading to the protection of Brij Bhushan Saran Singh. But let's move on, because we have a little bit of time, and I want to talk about a great headline for the BJP, for the government, for India, which is the G20 meet that took place in Srinagar. I think it was a very, very powerful sort of signal to both Pakistan and China. Now,
And to
how do you,
India, and to
of
India
course,
itself.
and to India itself, I think it was a very, very sort of powerful sort of messaging, as it were. But what next? Where do you see the Modi government's Kashmir policy going from here? The Pakistan policy seems sort of frozen in time, and I don't think most Indians care. Pakistan itself is in so much tumult. But the Kashmir policy.
Well, I think, Kashmir policy, we need an advance. We need a breakthrough at some point. We need some political players actually to come and break the ice. Whether it can be done through elections first or elections after, I do not know. But that breakthrough hasn't as yet happened. There have been attempts to create a new political class in Kashmir, but but that takes time. That's not going to happen instantly and in overnight form. And the encouraging thing is that terrorism is now at a more controlled stage. Let's put it this way: it hasn't ended totally, but it's under control, and it cannot. And certainly across the border, they've got their own major problems to resolve, which they're not so much looking at Kashmir. So this is a good time to do it. Now, I don't know exactly what initiatives are there, but I think the psychological environment to mount an initiative is certainly there in Kashmir now.
In the final few minutes, let's talk about one sort of global challenge that hasn't actually been resolved satisfactorily, and I'm talking about China. There's very little public conversation about what's happening with China, but what we do know is that Eastern Ladakh is now heavily militarized. There was one breakthrough, or rather de-escalation, at Pangong So, but in all the other sort of spots of conflict, the Chinese aggression continues, and the Chinese attempt to violate India's territorial integrity continues. How do you see this China challenge? Because it's also pushing India to maybe pick a side. India has never believed in being an ally, and at the same time, non-aligned sort of positioning is I would say infra-dig. Today, India acts from self-interest, fine, but the Chinese challenge, where is the final sort of direction in which that pushes India? There are those diplomats who believe the SCO is a waste of time. It's dominated by countries like China. What do you think?
Well, I think, what this China issue has done is one, that China is regarded as a threat by large sections of the world. It's not something which is confined to India. Chinese hegemonism has alarmed the West.